All right.
Hello, it's June 30th, 2022, and this is the weekly Backdrop Developer Meeting. We get together every week to talk about problems and priorities that the Backdrop um, developers are facing, with a pretty heavy emphasis on core. So we'll do some introductions before we get started. My name is Nate Lampton, quick sketch on the internet, calling from Oakland, California. We'll go to Robert and then Tim.
I'm Robert Lang, bug folder on the internet in Altadena, California.
Thanks, Robert.
Nope.
Tim and then Jen.
Yeah. My name is Tim Erickson. I'm St. Paul Tim on the internet, and I am here today from Deerwood, Minnesota. Whoever's next? Jen?
Thanks, Tim. Jen and then Joseph.
Jen Lampton joining from Oakland, California.
Joseph and then Alejandro.
Hi, I'm Joseph from Las Vegas, Nevada.
Great.
Hi, I'm Alejandro Argipiano online from Denver, Colorado.
All right. Thanks, folks. Let's see. To get started, we like to do a little community and contributions update. Jen, updates from the contrib side.
Sure. So this week we have a new theme and several new modules. Olaf made us a new theme named B21, which is based off of the WordPress 2021 theme. So if you want your backed up sites to look like that, you've got a new option, which is fantastic. We also have two new modules, login links and SSH public keys. Login links was made by BW Panda, and SSH key was made by Alan Mills. Thank you, everybody, for all of your work on Backed Up Contrib.
Excellent. All right. Let's see. We have a forum post from forum.backdropcms.org. Under the events section, we have a weekly post for this meeting to solicit topics that people would like to have discussed during these meetings. Two items were raised for this week. One was from Alejandro about 5482, the layout relationship. Contexts aren't getting set properly, and this particularly affects getting the author from the node. And 5482, we've had 3 different pull requests now. We think we've settled on one, so it's marked RTBC. Thanks, Alejandro, for that. And we think that we're going to move it in. We were discussing this a little bit before the recording started, and between Alejandro and myself, we kind of agree that technically, like, the way contexts work isn't the best, but the pull request fixes the urgent problem that we're currently facing, and we'd like to possibly do a separate like cleanup re-architecture to like make the get contexts method like less more consistent. I'm not sure what it's going to be less of, but it needs to be more consistent, because right now it does something different based on different properties, and that's really not great, the way that it returns different things based on different situations. Yeah, so we're hoping that that will go in. May prompt us or hurry our like delivery of the next bug fix release, because that is a pretty major problem. Good enough, at least, that's important enough that it could speed the bug fix release and get 123.1 out there. Let's see. Okay, so that one's coming along great. It's good to finally have some progress on that. I'm sorry, we've made lots of progress on that. It's good to finally come to a resolution on that. 4285 is an issue. Let's see, there's a, hang on, before we get to 4285, there is a related issue. I can't actually find it. There's a pull request that's out there that's marked RTBC already, that if you've been using self updates in Backdrop Core, we moved around some of the modules that are used in tests. And what ended up happening is that some people, after self-upgrading, they found that these modules they still exist in their previous location and in the new location. And thanks to our new status report that now tells you if you have the same module in multiple places and throws a warning, they're like, oh, I've got 2 copies of the same module, even though it's a test module and it doesn't really matter. And what has been happening apparently when you self-update, Drupal core doesn't fully replace the core directory. It merges the updates. So if files get moved or renamed, you end up with 2 copies of the same file sometimes after doing self-updates. So we have one pull request that removes the duplicate modules that are still in the old location that is just done through an update hook. And then we have this issue 4285, which permanently prevents that from happening going forward. The point of concern here is Indigo Zella filed the issue and I filed the pull request, and we're looking for more testing, I think, and more commentary on the approach, because what it does is it checks to see that the directory is writable, and then it deletes the entire directory and then puts the new directory in place. And while that seems mostly okay for contrib modules, it deletes the old contrib module and puts the new contrib module in place, what you would expect for an update. For core, it means that the PHP code that is currently actively executing in memory is deleting itself and then replacing it with something else, which understandably causes some concern that if something were to go wrong, then clearly the site wouldn't be able to recover from that, because the code that is currently running the page itself wouldn't be there anymore. Which I agree is really scary, but it's also the way that it works. That's why it's called a self-update, right? So yeah, there is that. So we're looking for additional feedback there. I think that, in fact, the self-updates for core had worked that way for a certain period of time until some other change happened, and then we didn't notice that it had this behavior of leaving stray files behind. So it is the original intention of the upgrader to work this way, but due to a typo, basically, we stopped deleting the directory and started merging them instead. Okay, so that's 5285, and that could use some feedback. All right, does anyone have any other comments or topics they'd like to bring up? Otherwise, we'll kind of go into 123, just overall status report. Okay, let's see. Because I'd like someone else to talk for a minute, I'm going to go to issue 4569, which is hiding the title on comments as an option, which Tim is the advocate for. And Tim, could you give us an update of where that's sitting right now?
Sure. So up until at the last week's meeting, we had 2 pull requests, one that hid the comment title with CSS and one that did it primarily through the comment template file. And we decided, I think at the last meeting, to go with the changing the template. And so I closed the CSS pull request. I made some additional changes to the other PR. I've gotten a lot of very helpful constructive feedback from Peter, BW Panda, and Indigo Zella in particular, amongst other people. I think Doc Wilmot chimed in at some point too. And I made lots of silly syntactical errors that other people have caught and pointed out to me. Thank you. And I appreciate everyone's patience. I think all of that feedback has been incorporated. There is something that might still be open for a little bit of discussion. Is I did put, because I feel pretty uncomfortable just having this not work on some sites without any clue. So I'm looking for some gentle way to give people a clue if it doesn't work, that's going to help them solve this problem. And I right now just have some text saying something to the effect of, that this feature may be dependent upon your contrib theme or something like that, which people have pointed out, well, that's true of a lot of things. But in other cases, we don't know that this is likely to cause problems. In this case, we do. I'm open to other wording. I'm open to other ideas. I want for the end user to not be left clueless if they click a box and nothing happens. Like I want them to have some way of sort of figuring out what's going on, because I don't think it's obvious at all. I as a user would not necessarily assume this was related to my contrib theme. Anyways, so that's one big thing. The other thing that I was reminded of today that we forgot about was the steps to take for because there is a contrib module, so we need to incorporate the check to see if the contrib module is already active on the site. And if I'm understanding this correctly, if a user is already using the contrib module, we would disable that, make sure that the settings from the contrib module match what we're setting up in the new site. And that would be part of the update hook. So that hasn't been addressed yet and is probably the primary thing, although the one last thing would be tests. This, it seems pretty clear that this is going to require some new tests. And I probably am not equipped right now to do those myself. So I either need a volunteer to either do the tests, or if somebody wanted to schedule some time with me and do some team coding, I would be happy to learn a little bit more about writing tests using this as an example. So that's the status update. And I'm going to turn off my camera and microphone for a second and address an issue behind me, and then I'll be back.
All right, thanks, Tim. All right, yeah, I think you covered everything that I was seeing in that issue as well. Great.
I have one other update for that issue. And Tim, if you're listening, I left a note on the issue with some code samples, but the issue introduces an SVG without a ping fallback, and we haven't done that anywhere else in core before now. So I put in a little code sample of how we had the ping fallback for other SVGs in core, so we can make sure we're consistent.
Interesting. Yeah, that's great. I should dig up this issue thinking about browser compatibility things. If we haven't yet, we should probably go and find our Internet Explorer compatibility issue and totally, absolutely remove our Internet Explorer compatibility stuff, because it is dead now. So no need for, I think we still have the HTML5 shim, for example, that is for Internet Explorer 8, I think, and yeah, that all that needs to just go away at this point. I know it's this is the sort of thing with our backwards compatibility, we're finding that we're taking it to such extremes, we're outlasting every other software project out there. Yeah, I think, yeah, sometimes it gets a little a little bit much. Anyway,
I'm back. That discussion was about the ping file. Is
yes.
that right? Okay.
The SVG, yeah.
The SVG, and did we decide that it was okay, or did something have to happen?
Well, we haven't ever introduced an SVG in core without a ping fallback before now.
Right.
So I think for getting this issue in without any blockers, it would probably be good to introduce it, but then we should also revisit our drop IE support issue, and when that moves forward, we can drop support through all of core. So that way we don't have any inconsistencies.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, I'm not totally sure that IE is the reason why we have ping fallbacks for SVGs. I'm not sure where that browser cutoff is. But yeah, it was
Okay.
just hey, also related to front end stuff, this is also something. So sorry.
Yeah, I'm not sure
these two
about that
together.
either.
Yeah.
So I could mention that it occurred to me that we were introducing a new icon, and originally the icon is only necessary for Bartik theme, And at one point in this module history, I put the icon in the core, the contrib or the comment module, thinking that maybe other themes would want to use it. That's started to open up a new discussion, which I decided we maybe didn't want to get into. So I just put the icon into basis where it's needed. But I wouldn't mind feedback, like if we're adding an icon to core, would it be good to put it somewhere where it can be used by other things? Or in this case, is it appropriate to keep it just where it's needed in basis?
It's a crazy idea. I'm not sure that that you like it. So we literally aren't only adding the image in Bartik. Is that what you're saying?
In basis.
Oh, in basis. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah. Well, that's a little bit different. But as a as a weird suggestion, could we use an emoji? There's a link emoji. You could just use that, which doesn't require an image or SVG or anything, and just print that in the template instead. And emojis, like their database, like the database storage thing is one problem with emojis, but if you can use an emoji in a template and there's no database requirements for using them there, it's just text.
Isn't an emoji like up to the browser to determine how to render it?
Yeah, it can look different on different operating systems. Yeah, whatever your system-wide emoji font is. Yep.
That could be a little weird for people if they're like, why does my website look funky on my phone but looks fine everywhere else? I don't know.
I don't. Yeah, you're right. Not ideal, because sometimes you'll end up with like color, and sometimes you'll end up with flat, and it'll depend on the browser. Totally.
Yeah, I think that using an image is probably best for consistency. But yeah, I think especially if we're putting it in basis, and basis might be around for a while, we should have the fallback in there for now, and then later we can go and do some cleanup and remove it when we decide to do that everywhere. And I think that messages CSS was also overridden in basis in the same way, and that's where I got the example from, where we have the other SVGs.
Totally. That's what I was going to ask. Like, does basis already have other SVG plus ping fallbacks? Yeah, then let's be consistent. Totally. Okay. Sounds good. Okay. Let's see. Jen, I put it in the agenda because it had been in the 123 milestone briefly, but that 3872, the add vertical tabs to the account page, do we want to talk about that today?
We just talked about that in the design UX meeting, so we probably
okay.
don't need to do it again.
Okay, great. That is just a pull request that needs review. Yeah, I won't go into it more than that. Let's see. One more thing from you, Jen. Field group functionality, issue 647. Do we have any updates on that issue?
I haven't made any changes since last week, but I think last week I made the decision to remove the vertical tab, which also means we're removing the feature that allows you to clone a field set from one view mode to another on the same bundle, which is probably a very highly desired feature. But we can add it back in a follow-up issue once we figure out how to clean up the field UI form a little bit.
Okay. Let's see. Tim's asking in the chat, did I miss a volunteer to help with the tests on the comment title issue, or a volunteer to help teach me? No, there wasn't any. There wasn't any volunteers active, but we'll put it out there. Any volunteers for helping with the comment titles?
I'd be happy to help with that as long as it's not today.
Yeah, no rush.
Okay. Thanks, Jen. All right, and then lastly, in 123, we've got the entity reference module, issue 1301. The Herbdool is the advocate for. Hasn't had any activity in several weeks now, which is unfortunate because it's right there. And so I posted a comment today just saying, hey, like, could we try, are people open to the idea that we could merge in what we have right now, the pull request literally as it exists right now, and then cherry pick in the 3 additional commits that are in the contrib module. That way Herb doesn't have to go through the work of doing the acrobatics necessary to like maintain the entire Git history and then make a pull request out of that. So if that helps to move things along and seems fine to people, then that would be wonderful. But yeah, also just generally like more overall review of the entire project wouldn't hurt. I've looked over it a couple of times, and it's a huge chunk of code. It reminds me a lot of the comic I think I saw one time where it's like, you know, one line code change and people are like nitpicking for like 20 comments, but like 10,000 lines and everybody's like, looks good. I do kind of feel like it's that kind of moment, you know, where this is a massive amount of new code. But yeah, that attitude I don't think is actually horrible either, because this is 10,000 lines of code that have been used in contrib and is one of our most popular contrib modules. So it's already out there, it's already being used, and actually the less we change, the less risk we're incurring here. So so I'm in favor of moving things in as we have them now. Anyway, so that issue, yeah, could use some feedback, but I'm also just waiting to see what Herb thinks about the idea of just moving things in as is. And that's it for the 123 status report. Yeah, I guess that's it for today. Do you guys have anything else you'd want to bring up or discuss?
Well, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up Backdrop Live. At the very minimum, and up just a reminder to everybody that we really just got down to pushing registrations and outreach pretty hard this week. The registration is open. The schedule is up, and we have like 10 or 15 topics already on there. We are looking for more. Nate, can I put you on the spot? Do we just want to do the same thing with the core update, or did you have any reason you want to change the schedule or the way that works? Or do you want to think about that and get back to me?
Yeah, I'll think about it. I think I had something else possibly to cover instead, but I don't know, maybe that would just be a separate session as well. So yeah, I guess core update is probably inevitable that I'll do that one.
So for now, I went ahead and put it on the schedule in the same spot just to help seed the schedule. The schedule's getting full enough though that if you prefer, I could take it off until you make a decision. Either way. Anyways, so there's that. Anybody else has a topic or ideas or schedule or sessions they want to do? Please let us know. Please help promote it. We really need people to get the word out. This is our big opportunity every 4 months to really engage with the community and talk about new things. What else? Yeah, I guess we could leave it at that. Any questions about Backdrop Live or anything anybody else wants to add? No.
Okay. All right. Well, let's wrap it up for today. Thanks everybody for being present, and thanks for all of the work as always. Yeah, it's exciting moving these things forward. The entity reference is a huge thing. That'll be very exciting if that goes in. It'll be a headline feature for 123 for sure. So.
You know what? I had another thought before about Backdrop Live. We had talked at one point about having a discussion about planning for the next release. I think that maybe that seemed less urgent just because we have kind of a big agenda already. So
yeah, that's funny. We did kind of just like skip over that. We were supposed to do
Well,
that at the beginning of the month almost.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and to some extent, it sort of happened naturally, so that doesn't bother me. But I thought I would bring that up now because that might be something to think about in terms of Backdrop Live. Is that maybe instead of trying to do anything during our weekly meetings, that we think about if there is some planning we want to do, how can we incorporate that into the Backdrop Live schedule? So I don't need an answer on that right now, but
Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, it's possible that a couple of these things, hopefully, like comment titles, and there's one that we have that we didn't talk about, the custom validation messages, and there's actually another one that's already RTBC. I can't remember quite what it is. It's a alter hook of some kind that is an API expansion that Robert worked on. Anyway, what I'm getting at is that there's a bunch of issues that are nearing completion right now for 123, that even if those were to be completed, like, yeah, 123 is going to look great. But we're like halfway through the cycle. And so it's like what's about to happen is that I hope those issues all wrap up, and then we're not going to have any other 123 open tickets. Wouldn't that be neat? So yeah, we definitely have the opportunity here to like pursue some additional items for this release.
Okay.
Yeah, so that would be a great topic. That's what I was getting at.
Okay, well, think about how you want to handle that, and if you just want to do that in the core development update or something else.
Okay. Yeah.
I think we just implemented the survey at about the time of the last Backdrop Live on the forum. And so I think we were just starting to get feedback, or had gotten some feedback already. We got more after Backdrop Live. It's been pretty, just so everybody knows, it's been pretty static for the last month, like almost no change in that survey. Maybe one or two new people participated, but every once in a while I post sort of the top 10 issues in that survey in Zulip. But yeah, just to throw that out there as a data point, and if there's anything we want to do with that before Backdrop Live, now's the time to think about it.
Okay. All right. Well, let's wrap up for today. Thanks again to everybody, and we'll see everybody next week. Thank you. Bye.